All right, welcome back to On the Block. Joe Verfari and my man Ployan.
What's going on, guys?
It's been a minute, so we want to touch on the East and the West, talk about how the playoff picture is shaping up. If the playoffs started today, which we just talked about, OKC would be in second, Denver's in first. And then my mistake, we were talking about the play and how the Lakers will be going against Golden State like they did last year, the year before.
Year before.
And that winner would end up being playing Dallas or Phoenix. Right.
If the matchups are the same right now, yeah.
If the season ended today.
Yeah.
Philly's obviously fallen off. They were a lock in the top three there with Embiid going out. So as the season progresses, we have about a month left, 3.5 weeks before everything finishes up. Let's talk about the West. We'll start at the bottom there, the playoff picture, with the Lakers, who saw that Anthony Davis stat, 0-1,000 against either Sabonis or Jokic, which is absolutely crazy. They lost again to Sacramento. Sacramento has their foot on the pedal. Last time I checked, I believe they're sixth place in the West, which, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I think a lot of people had them kind of regressing just because teams like Phoenix and Dallas are going to be coming up. But let's stick with that Lakers and Golden State matchup. They actually played today as well. If they were to go against each other in a playing game, who do you have?
I have the Lakers winning. It's just because, they're actually playing cohesively, using D'Angelo Russell actually coming out. I just don't believe in the dynasty of Golden State as much as I believe in Stephen Curry. It's like he's got real no support right now, whereas LeBron actually has been having support lately, right? So Golden State will only go as far as Stephen Curry takes them. But right now, with the way Davis is playing, D'Angelo, all their pieces are kind of meshing together at this point right now. I would go with the Lakers as much as, some guys don't want to hear that. But it'll be a fun series. I think this is probably going to be the last look or the last kind of rivalry type of game that you're going to see for the next couple of years, because I just see both teams regressing after this. You got obviously Houston that Sengun got that crazy, very gruesome injury. But I see them in the playoffs next year. You got Memphis that's not in playoff contention right now, but that's because of all the injuries that they've had. No Desmond Bane, no Ja. They regressed. They didn't even have Brandon Clark the whole season.
They have nobody play. They're like a G League team.
So, you see teams like that are actually going to get better. And so, out of the teams that are actually in playoffs, the two teams that I wouldn't see in there are actually the Lakers and Golden State. But for me, let's see where the Lakers go from here, how they progress. I mean, LeBron James is on a time clock, so I mean, it only depends on how far he will take the Lakers and if they're actually going to be going somewhere. You would love to see Minnesota taking the next steps and growing and getting so good as they are. Karl Anthony Towns was having a remarkable season and then that injury. And so, you're seeing Anthony Edwards take over and you want to see these types of things happen. OKC, we've talked about them all season as a crazy team that's been doing so well.
And I think a lot of people thought they were going to kind of fall off, but they haven't.
No. They're meshed together. You can see that these guys enjoy playing together. They know their roles. They know who to go to. SGA's taken that role and he's ran with it. You can see already at this point he is the leader of that team, and they will go as far as he takes them. Clippers, obviously, you got to worry about their injuries. I still have not jumped into that bandwagon yet, just because every time they get into it, you see someone gets hurt, something happens.
I saw Kawhi left a few games ago too. I think it was some back stiffness or something.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully that's not long term. But the thing in the West has always been since, the 2000s for the most part, even like when the Spurs were good, is just you're going to run to a really good team in the first round, right? Like we look at these matchups here, the 4-5, Clippers, Pelicans.
Yeah.
Clippers have title aspirations, but almost similar records. Like someone's going to go home in the first round. Denver is probably the only team that you're expecting not to lose in the first round. Everybody else, if they lost, you really can't be shocked, right? Especially with the Lakers and Golden State at the bottom.
And so that's the argument I've been trying to make to a lot of basketball friends that we talk to. the pedestal is Denver, and then it's
Everybody else in the whole league, not even
in
just
the whole league,
even with Boston
you
included,
know,
right?
and you thought that they would actually take a step back with no Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, guys that actually contributed a very good portion of last year, and they were very key additions. Obviously, not household names, but they did their roles, and they were those step up guys that they needed. But you have not seen them regress at all. You've seen Jokic complete his game. Aaron Gordon is playing magnificent. Jamal Murray, with him not being injured, you can see that the offense
He's
just
getting
flows.
his feet. He's getting his foot back with the knee.
Yeah, and Michael Porter having a great season
Being
as
healthy,
well.
another guy that
So I mean, you can't. The only issue with the playoffs has always been the bench, and you need your 6th, 7th, 8th guy to be on point with your starters. I don't see Denver having a problem with that. I think
if
it's the
everybody's
next
healthy,
time,
of
if
course, right?
everybody's
Like I
healthy,
can't see it
right?
either. Even with the bench, Braun, Watson, and Holiday, Zeke Naji's been good. Reggie Jackson every once in a while go off for 25. Like they have guys. Again, like you said, like not your household names, and maybe if they were on any other team, you wouldn't really care. But Jokic, we saw that year where Jamal got hurt. He went to the playoffs with essentially a bunch of bench guys.
Yeah.
He did his thing anyway. It doesn't matter who he's playing with.
Yeah.
So yeah, Denver I think is the top of the class of the NBA for sure. They started off a little bit slow, 47-20, and I don't know if you saw yesterday Jokic going against Wemby, but I kind of was interested to see like with all that length what was gonna do. Jokic shoulder in the chest, boom boom, buried him under the basket, threw it up, and it's funny because the shot was like it just went over Wemby's hands, but he never blocked it once. And it just
And that's the skill, right? And that's why it's like everybody that I talk to, it's Denver and then the rest of the league. And you can put Boston, you can put Milwaukee going out in the East, which I think it's going to be either
Those two,
one of
yeah.
those teams because I just have not bought into Cleveland as good as New York is. I haven't bought into that.
Miami though. So Miami's a team that I was talking about with a buddy from the gym. And he raised a good point because I forgot about Miami. Just in the sense where it's like you don't think about them. You named off the teams at the top of these.
Yeah.
Miami's never there.
No.
I think they've been out of 3 out of the last 4 or 5 championships in the East. They've been there. They've been to 2 or 3 finals as well. Obviously, they haven't won any. But like, would you be shocked if Jimmy Butler and the guys end up making it to another East final?
I would be shocked just because these injuries, they're getting older, you know, you can see that they're not the same team as before.
But like losing Kyle was a plus.
I know.
Tyler
I agree
Hero's
that.
playing, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
Terry Rozier is a bad man, and I really enjoy his game, but he's just he's only been getting into his way and the way he plays only recently. So I mean, it's gonna be a good time. I only think they're gonna be contenders as if Hero comes back and he's healthy, because they've been missing him and he hasn't really been playing. And every playoff series, he's kind of been one guy that they could count on to help with the offense and do kind of his thing. And that's how we know Tyler Hero as a player in the NBA, because he's actually stepped up in the playoffs when you needed him to. But like I said, for me, I still haven't bought it in. I just think that Milwaukee and Boston are just that good. And they have, you know, Milwaukee has Jay Crowder.
Miami has Miami has Milwaukee's number. It seems like they beat them every. There was the bubble where everybody's like it's just a bubble. Last year they embarrassed them.
But Giannis was injured, man.
Well, who knows? It might happen. But even when he wasn't hurt, they beat him in game 1.
Yeah, but like I said, you don't expect them to
You
win
don't
4
expect it.
games.
But yeah, man. I mean, I don't know.
With a healthy Giannis, if Middleton is healthy, Giannis is healthy, and Damian
Middleton's
Lillard
not going to be healthy. He's
No,
not.
but you're going to expect him to play at least 20, 25 minutes. I would rather him play 20, 25 minutes in a playoff series than to have Pat Connaughton play 30, 40 minutes in that
No,
aspect.
I
You know
don't.
what I mean?
I'm just trying. Like I was doing what you were doing when my buddy was telling me about Miami. Because like I said, I forgot about them. I was fighting it off, and then after a while, I'm like, you know what?
No,
I don't know.
We're,
I don't
we're
know.
Miami,
We can't be
we're,
shocked.
We're not Miami haters here. They've proven year after year that they don't count us out. But like I said,
They play football in the playoffs. I mean,
think-
it's a physical game.
I
They wear
agree.
teams down. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be shocked if it was them against Boston.
it all in the playoffs. It always comes down to just health.
True.
If the team is healthy,
Boston was healthy last year. Didn't beat Miami.
Yeah, but they had a choke. They had a choke.
They might have another one, which is going to get to my question then. Who do you see coming out of the East? Is it still, with the season Boston's having, like, I don't know about historical, but it's pretty
Boston's a
damn
different
close.
Team this year.
Okay, tell me why.
They're a
Tell me why.
different team. Derek White has stepped up.
Yep.
His game has been magnificent.
Marcus Smart's gone.
Marcus Smart is gone, and I think that's been an addition by subtraction.
Okay.
Poor Zingas. Zingas Pingus. Hey, we don't talk enough about this
We
guy.
don't. It's
But-
because he's usually hurt again. Health
But
usually doesn't last
he
this long.
has been that difference maker, and you can tell. Before it was Al Horford and Robin Williams. Now you got a 7'3" unicorn that's come to his game
Yeah.
that can get you 20 every night, 10 rebounds. And he's not known as a rim protector, but when you have a 7'3" guy putting
You
his
still have
hands
to
up,
shoot over him.
you have to shoot over him, right? You got Drew Holiday. You tell me an NBA player that doesn't say he's the best on-ball defender. So this team is a different team. You got Jaylen Brown with that extension actually showing up, putting in numbers. You got Jason Tatum taking another step forward with his offense, playing good defense, and actually making the right decisions at times. I was watching the game against Phoenix. Both guys were playing very remarkable together. Phoenix just had no answer for them defensively and offensively. So for me, I think Boston is a different team, but they have to show it in the playoffs. That's been the biggest knock on them. After Boston, you got Milwaukee. Milwaukee's coming into their game. They're progressing. They're showing that, hey, we can play as a unit as well. Doc Rivers kind
They
of
started off slow, really
Very
bad with
slow,
Doc Rivers.
very
They turned it
slow.
around, yeah.
But it was the same thing with Clippers. Everybody was like, hey, look, Harden 0-4 coming into the Clippers. It was the biggest story.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy can't. And then they just
Went on a
flipped
run.
this and ran on a run. And now nobody said or mentioned anything in that aspect, right? So I think with teams, especially when you have a new star or a new coach, you got to give it a couple of games. You know, maybe a couple weeks, maybe, you know, so that everybody kind of
On the same page.
on the same page, meshes together, finds out what each player's strength and not strength is, right? Milwaukee's biggest issue was on ball defense. Now you
They
can
have some
see-
bigs. They never had guards to defend anybody, right?
yeah,
That's the
so
problem.
then
You
they
have
went,
Brook
they got
Lopez and-
Patrick Beverly, and that's been a great addition for them. So you got these little things that are kind of working together for them, and let's see, Milwaukee is the other team, and I just don't see anybody else in the East coming out. My only dark horse would be New York.
Okay, how come? Randall's still out, and I think that if he comes back, like I've dislocated my shoulder, it put me out for like 9 months. So
And
he's not
that's,
going to be the
that's
same.
my only dark horse is if Randall is healthy, because Jalen Brunson is a bad man.
It's crazy how and to be that small and that lethal and like to shoot
He's
over the
so
trees,
good.
he's been so good.
And then the additions of OG,
Who's
and
hurt again, but
Bojan,
back now, yeah.
and Boyan,
Yeah,
like those guys are what they needed. They had great pieces in Josh Hart. You know, they had DiVincenzo. You know, solid
Hartenstein,
guys.
who's been good for them.
Yeah, and then even Precious Achua, which, you know, we had lost all hope in him. He's resurrecting his career right now in New
He's
York.
having a decent run there, yeah.
Yeah, he's been playing awesome, you know. So, like I said, I that's my only dark horse. I haven't bought into Cleveland just because I just don't trust Donovan Mitchell. That's just my issue. I in the playoffs, he hasn't shown up. He hasn't done much, and
I
so
don't know. I feel like Mitchell's been good. Like even in those Utah, like I always think back to the bubble, him going against Jamal Murray in that series there, right? Like he hasn't been a bad playoff performer. I just think the team
No.
around him has not been usually great. And Cleveland's one of those teams where it's like they're not a title contender, but they're just. I put them on par with the Knicks. I know the Knicks have some reinforcements, and they got embarrassed by the Knicks last year in the playoffs. But if they can get back Mobley, I think that with him and Allen in the front line, like that's a pretty big front line, and defensively they've always been pretty good.
no, and I agree with you. But for me, it's the issue is like I don't think they've realized who should bring up the ball, who should be the go-to guy. Because Garland is just as good, if not better, than Donovan Mitchell at times, right?
Yeah, he's a really good point guard. Like I said, they got Max Strus. Like they have playoff guys there
They
too.
have playoff guys, and I think they're a solid team. It's just would I have them healthy over the Knicks healthy? No.
Probably not. Probably not.
And that's all because of Jalen Brunson and the way he handles himself and the way he plays. He's just, all around player. And you can tell that he came into himself. And if Dallas was to have him, man, Dallas would be frightening right now.
I know, and we go back to that every once in a while. They didn't think so, but I mean, they have Kyrie now. You know what I mean? So like, it's not
of course, and I think that's just
a bigger contract, but at least you have Kyrie there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Dallas is a scary team too in the West. Like after I have Denver, it's like who do you really challenge?
So who do you have? Okay, so let's finish off with the East then. So I guess you have Boston taking on Milwaukee in the East final.
Yes.
And Boston going on.
I have Boston going on at this time, but that could definitely change just because. Based on how they play together, just like how they close
Boston
out.
or Milwaukee?
Boston, the way they close out the season, they've been.
I mean, they
too
can't
good.
get any better.
And
Regular
that's my
season,
thing,
right?
And that's my thing. It's been a regular season, but towards the end is when you see a little bit of a decline where they take a step back.
Got to get ready for the playoffs. You can't go 100% every game.
Exactly.
Natural
but,
stuff.
But that naturally just goes towards like slacking, different habits, and that can be an issue as well. I just want to see how well Milwaukee closes out this season as opposed to Boston. If they're on point and they go on a run, I think Milwaukee is going to be just as good, if not better than Boston. But right now it's going to be Boston just because they have so many pieces and their pieces are meshing together very well.
Fair enough. Okay, I'm probably going to say Boston as well, but I would not be shocked if it ends up being like a Boston-Miami East final. And to be honest, man, after we've seen last year, I wouldn't be shocked if Miami beat them. Even though they're not the better team, I wouldn't be shocked if they were to roll into the finals again. I don't know. They're a better team than they were last year. On paper, they're a better team.
Yeah.
With the additions, like you said, like Rozier, Duncan Robinson has a full season of actually playing.
Yeah, the rookie Jaime, he's not.
Jame's been great, and I think that he could start for a lot of teams, and he did start for a lot of teams when Jimmy was out. Now you have him coming off the bench, playing like that point forward. He can do pretty much everything. He's really good.
And
so that's
Hero's back. He's.
They're like 8-9 deep, right? Of legit players.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So we'll cap that off on the East. We're gonna go to the West now. So everybody obviously has Denver probably winning it all, but for sure coming out of the West. Who is Denver's biggest threat, and who can you see them playing in the West final?
Phoenix or Clippers if they're healthy.
Okay. Why?
But like I said, for me, Clippers, I can't even, make that case because they've just never been healthy. And we always have this conversation if they're healthy, if they're good.
They've been pretty healthy all year. So let's assume that they are then.
And then if they are, then you got a Kevin Durant versus a Kawhi final. And then you got Kawhi with his backup in PG and Harden versus Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Now, both teams, I think they're very, very close to each other.
Clippers and Phoenix?
Clippers and Phoenix, yes. Like, you got to realize.
Phoenix has not been good all. They've been on a
haven't
bit of
been
a
healthy.
run recently.
But they haven't been healthy.
Well, Beal's never healthy. That's one guy that never really played.
But in the playoffs, he's always gone.
He's always been good.
He's been good when he's been there. Very seldom,
but now the only problem is so let's look at Phoenix. If the season ends today, they're in 7. They play Dallas to see who that 7 seed is. Do you see them beating Dallas?
I see them beating Dallas.
Okay, so they beat
This
Dallas.
is a different team now, just because they have Kevin Durant. If no Kevin Durant was there, obviously, then they wouldn't even probably be in this position that they are in right now. But I think that's the difference between the old Dallas that beat Phoenix and the whole Luka and Booker rivalry started. This is a different team. You can see.
But still, nobody's guarding Luka. You can put Durant on him. It doesn't matter. Luka's going to do what he does. He's going to get 35, 10, and 12.
100%. And he's got reinforced.
And now he has Kyrie. So Kyrie's going against Durant too, which is going to be interesting.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's very tight between the Sacramento and Phoenix and Dallas. Those 3 teams, even if you consider New Orleans, they're within 2 to 3 games difference of each other, which the Lakers could be in par with that too. So it's a very
there's a lot of coin flip matchups.
Yes, but out of all the strongest teams out of these ones that I would say is Phoenix first, Dallas second. Then I would put Sacramento, Lakers, you know, these
Okay, so let's go to the Lakers now. Lakers have Golden State in that round one matchup. So now Golden State has Draymond and Chris Paul back. Who knows how long it's gonna last, but they're both playing. They're starting with Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond Green there, right? That's the starting lineup. And then they have everybody else that's been on the bench, like Podzemski and all those other guys, Moody, etc., and Looney. How far? So you assume that the Lakers win that matchup, right?
I would
Okay.
go with the Lakers.
If the Lakers win that game, do they win a series in the playoffs?
No, because they would be facing Denver.
That's what I was gonna say. Well, not even Denver. Well, no. If they win that game, yes, then they would end up being the 8. Okay. But then they also have to be either Dallas or Phoenix to get that 8 seed. Do they even win that game?
No.
So they don't make the playoffs now. They make the play-in, but they win one game. They don't make the playoffs.
See, but that's the thing. Like, you could see them winning one game out of that if they did, but then I don't see them winning a playoff series.
That's what I mean.
Who would you face if they were to go for some reason and shoot up to a 7 seed or
Even if they played
something?
OKC or Minnesota or Denver, any of those teams, like,
See, but then you have the experience versus the non-experience.
and you think that they can pull that off?
And I think they can pull it off. The only team out of the top 3 that I don't see them beating is Denver, but OKC and Minnesota, I think they can beat them.
OKC they have an interesting rivalry with. Even I remember when LeBron set the all-time scoring record. Remember they had that little ceremony in the middle of the game, and then after OKC went on them. That's a rivalry that I like too. I don't think that they win any of those. Which
Against Minnesota right now, you can see them winning as
with
well.
Town's coming back though for the playoffs. You still think they win that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, if we're talking playoff LeBron, AD working very well, and the surrounding, they've won an NBA championship together
It's
with
been
just
years.
these two guys.
It's been years.
And I understand, but they have a different team and a better team than they had during that championship run. That
There's
they
no
did
chance. There's no chance, man. Like Dwight Howard was a big reason they won that in those games. He was their backup center. They
Yeah.
don't have anybody anymore.
Well, Anthony Davis is playing that role
Who's-
right
you
now.
know, but he was there when
And then you
when
have
Dwight was there.
Hachimura and as their power
All
forward.
those guys
They
to me
play
have been
very well.
disappointing.
No,
Hachimura hasn't
really
been good. D'Angelo was terrible up until a week and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
Like they were gonna move him at the deadline, and all of a sudden he's scoring a few points. He gives everything back on defense. I don't know how much I like the Lakers, and I'm not even shitting on LeBron. He's been incredible. We do have to understand he's like 39 years old now,
Yeah,
right? And he's not
yeah.
going to be able to bring it on, one day off in a playoff series forever.
No, and like I said, I agree with you 100%, but if you're going to be banking your money on,
Who's their third guy?
you can go with Reeves.
You
It
could
be
go with as
anybody.
your first
No,
problem,
but like I
right?
said, but they have options of at any given night, any one of these guys
They
can
don't have
be
the
a big-
defense.
No.
I'm not sold on the Lakers. I guess we'll just end it there. I don't have as much.
No,
faith
no,
as you
and
do.
I get that, and like I said, I'm just going with 7 games. I just can't go against LeBron.
You're gonna go with the old guys in a longer series.
Well, old guys have the experience compared to the new guys. Where's Minnesota been? Where's OKC been?
Fresher legs though, right?
Yeah, but they don't know how a playoff game works, bro. How a playoff series work, right? I mean, there's times where you push, and then hey, game 2, game 3, hey, we're tired. Hey, we've been pushing it, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or it will even happen, but it's a different game in the playoffs. There's a lot of bully ball.
But all those,
push-ups.
yes, I agree. But all those young teams at some point, like when OKC went against the Lakers the first year in the playoffs, like when Harden and those guys were there, they didn't win. But it's also not like Shea's got to be 25 now. I want to say, right? Like the guy's like an MVP guy.
Yes.
Anthony Edwards will be a top 3 player in the NBA in maybe 2 years. So it's not like these are like young teams where it's like like a Houston where it's like we see something but we're not really sure. Like these are those young teams on the cusp of being those experienced teams now getting in their prime.
No, but the argument is that you had those teams all the time in the NBA. You had the Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah,
Where Donovan
finishing
Mitchell finishing first
and not doing anything.
and not doing anything, right? So now you don't want these teams to be at that point, but once they face experienced teams, because these teams, your Golden States, your Lakers, your Miamis, they just want to be in the playoffs because they know that's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about the season, whereas OKC, yeah, they care about the season. They want to go. Shea Gilgeous fouled just the other day, fouled the guy 10 seconds left, down by 14, just so he can get 30 points. You get what I'm trying to say? So my point is that the regular season matters more to the younger guys than it does for a playoff series, and the older guys want to get into the playoff series because they know how to win, because they've won. So I mean, that right there is the difference for me.
Okay. So you don't have too much faith in OKC or Minnesota, really?
No, not really. In a playoff series, no. The only young team that I think could actually do something is New Orleans.
I was going to say that, but I was also going to say I don't know how young they are anymore either, right?
Yeah.
They're entering. There's another team like late 20s kind of thing.
No real playoff experience
Okay.
type, but they have CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram stepped up, Zion's healthy,
Yeah.
Valanciunas,
Serge Jones, Trey Murphy.
These guys are
they're
options.
guys,
I think these are guys that will actually be
They play
beneficial
defense.
in a playoff series, right? Because they actually grind down and they play defense. Other teams, Sacramento, I think
They
last
should
year
have beat
was
Golden
the
State
biggest.
last year, probably, right?
Right? So now they got a taste
Experience.
of that experience. So now you know where they are. That's actually scary to me.
So now they play, let's say, Minnesota in the first round. What do you think? Right?
100%. You see, for me, you could
You
not.
in Sacramento?
Sacramento, 100%.
Wow, okay.
I just, like I said, Minnesota did better than expected this year. No one expected them to be this high of a seed.
No, people probably say 6-7, right? And they would probably have Phoenix swap with them. Phoenix in the 2, 3, 4 kind of spot.
So now, but now, like I said, Phoenix is in a low spot right now. But you got KD on that team. When you have KD, I mean, he was what, a foot shy of beating Milwaukee by himself.
Yeah.
And so you know what I'm saying, Joe? Like, and who was his backup at that time in Brooklyn? Everybody was injured, right? Harden was injured. Kyrie, I think, played.
Kyrie played a few games. I remember he was in.
Yeah, and then he was injured in and out as well. So I mean, he did that by himself. Now he's got a healthy Booker and a healthy.
It's also 4 years ago too, right?
Yeah, but
And now he's like 35 or
but
36
now,
years
now
old.
it's even what matters even more, right? So I mean, these guys want to win. That drive is there. I think even the other day, JJ Redick mentioned Kevin Durant. Is he underappreciated?
Yeah.
I think we know who KD is. I don't think he's been underappreciated.
I think it's more so with like that whole question is just your relationship with fans and the media, right? Like and that even like Barry Bonds, let's say for example. Barry Bonds, one of the greatest players of all time, steroids aside, whatever, right? But when you're not, I don't even know if happy is the right word, but when you're not giving those kind of interviews, when you're not showing yourself, when you're not a happy guy, people just kind of, I don't want to say want to see you fail, but they don't necessarily cheer for you. So they'll kind of forget about you, right?
He was voted second in the All-Star? He had the second most votes or third most votes?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if he was, and even Shea's another guy where it's like, Shea's more of a quiet guy, but KD is borderline unlikable at times. Just because he said, like, he has those burner accounts on Twitter. You know what I mean? He's always been that guy. Kyrie's kind of similar. It's like Kyrie, and Kyrie's another perfect example. One of the most skilled players of all time, you could argue one of the greatest players of all time, not based on accomplishments, as a basketball player, a mold of a player.
Oh, no,
if he was 6'6", he might
course.
be a Michael Jordan, right? But it's just all the stuff these guys have done off the court when the whistle's blown. That's what makes them, I would say, underappreciated, right? Whereas guys like LeBron, even though he says stuff, it's like people. I don't think anybody hates LeBron. Even like LeBron naysayers, they don't hate him as a person really. It's just he gives a lot of quotes where you're like, did he just say that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think KD's the same thing. Whereas, let's say, I don't know, like Kawhi, for example. Nobody underappreciates Kawhi. He's not unlikable, but he just kind of doesn't say anything where you're like, what did he just say?
He's
right?
always been the same.
Paul
type
George,
of player.
same thing, right? It's like they'll talk, but nobody like hates them. They're rated where they should be rated.
Yeah, but for me, I don't think Kevin Durant's ever been underappreciated. I think we've always given his credit.
Coopers know
was
that he
due.
is like the
Yes.
greatest below LeBron of this era, right?
Yes,
I think so.
Absolutely. If no LeBron, KD would just be the next best
Yeah.
thing.
And I
right?
think KD hopping around from team to team hasn't helped him either.
No, and
Like-
I think that's the only knock that he has had in his career, the jumping from OKC to Golden State. But after he won the 2 championships, I never ever questioned what he wanted to do
But a lot,
after.
yeah. I mean, getting off topic, but a lot of people don't necessarily like rate those championships too, because he went to a team that was the best, one of the best teams ever before he got there. I think they were before that
well,
kid,
they
right?
won one before he even got there. So
That's like if LeBron were to go to Denver this year. You know what I mean? Or next season, say I'm going to sign in Denver and kind of piggyback off what a great team already is doing. Be like, what the hell are you doing? Right?
But that's if
Getting to the
Denver
unlikability
doesn't
part.
win this year.
Denver's gonna win another one. It doesn't matter when it's gonna happen. They will win another championship, maybe more than one. Right?
Okay.
That's just the unlikely part. Getting back to the West, who is Denver's? I'm going to wrap it up with this. Who is Denver's biggest threat in the West?
As I mentioned, it's going to be Phoenix if they're healthy, and then
Nurkic is going to give Jokic a problem.
Nurkic and Jokic play together.
That's what I was saying. They've had a beef since before, right? Because
Yes.
Nurkic was upset that they moved him after that deal. But Nurkic was the guy before Jokic got there. And He
Yeah.
was like the prize guy before.
I mean, like I said, I don't think there's ever stopping Jokic. Jokic is gonna get his buckets. Jokic is gonna do it. But as if we're talking,
I do love watching Nurkic and Jokic a lot.
Yeah, and my thing is that if we're just talking who has the closest chance of actually doing something to Denver and giving their best bang for the buck, I would rate it as Phoenix, Clippers, and then a healthy Lakers.
I'm with you until you said Lakers.
Well, I mean, Anthony Davis is Jokic's
Side
biggest.
piece, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, but like defensively, or like even on statistics, Anthony Davis has given Jokic his biggest
He's a
trouble.
monster, man. He's an absolute beast.
Right? Like, don't get me wrong, Anthony Davis is great defensively. When he's
Yeah.
locked in, he's
Yeah.
locked in. I think
Yeah.
the biggest knock on Anthony Davis has been, which Anthony Davis are you going to get every night? Are you going to get the guy that wants to shoot threes, or are you going to get the Anthony Davis that's
Bang down low.
banging down low?
It's the same
right?
question I ask every time we put our shoes on. It's like, what version of Portland am I getting today? Am I gonna get you? Am I gonna get you boozing down low with some fadeaway
If the
threes?
threes are going
Right?
in, the threes are
And
going
similar
in.
to
right?
AD, when he's down low in the post where he should be, then that's what you want. Because the thing is too, like when you're being drawn outside, even on defense, it's like you're not being utilized defensively
Exactly.
to be that beast that the Lakers need you to
Exactly.
be, right?
So those are my three. You know, comment down below, guys, who you guys think is Denver's biggest challenge in the West, and then Boston's the biggest challenge in the East. If you guys have Milwaukee, who's the biggest challenge for Milwaukee?
And I guess also what you think about the Miami Heat, because like I said, one of my buddies, we had that conversation. I was not sold. I laughed it off. Then I took a look at how Miami's been in their roster, and it's like this team's better than. This is probably their best roster, maybe since I guess they went to the finals in the bubble with the Jimmy Butler that was 4 years younger, right?
Comment down below. Who do you think is going to be the conference finals? Who do you guys think? Who
Let
do
us
you guys
know.
have? Let us know.
And then lastly, let's touch on the Raptors just for a few minutes, just because it's local. I mean, it's been ugly. Guys are in and out of the lineup. RJ, condolences to the brother passing. That was
Yeah,
that
that's
was
horrible,
bad.
man.
I mean,
That's
they didn't
horrible.
release what happened, but I mean, his brother, I gotta think is what 17 years old. I'm pretty sure he's still in high school.
Young guy. Yeah.
Really sad story. So I mean, just more bad news for the Raptors and their franchise. But I mean, they lost their close one yesterday to Orlando. I'm still unsure if this team wants to keep their pick because I mean, if you look at the roster, man, like there's a lot of guys that should not be in the NBA that are kind of being experimented with this team too, right?
I think so as well. I mean, you really don't know what to say about the Raptors at this point, Ben. You know, Scotty Barnes being injured, breaking his arm. Gary Trent in and out of the lineup, always injured. You know, you got Poto.
Jakob's been out. You know what I mean,
out.
with phantom injuries
Boucher's
too.
been injured. You know, Michael Porter's brother.
Jonte,
Yeah, he's been decent.
He's a 10th, 12th man, whatever.
Yeah,
He's like a third
he's
center.
a backup,
Yeah.
or like backup to your backup
Yeah.
center. You know, you actually see
Bruce
Grady
Brown's
Dick.
dropped off too. Grady did. Let's talk about him. Go ahead.
He's getting into his game a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's looking for his shot. He's going for his shot. I think the coaches have given him his.
They gave him a leash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like giving.
Do your
I wanna
thing.
I want to say a leash, but I would say they're giving him more freedom to do what he wants to do on the court, whether it's taking that shot or taking 2 dribbles and then taking his shot, just to feel his game and how it's working. And I think they're calling his number as well. As I saw the last game, they're actually going to him so that to see what kind of potential he really has. Kelly Olynyk, I mean, he's your solid
He's been
veteran
pretty
big.
good, man.
I
Like,
mean, he's not bad, bro.
To be honest, he's what they've needed the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
A proper backup center that can
That
get
can
you 10 to
shoot.
15 points,
Yeah,
shoot, get rebounds.
Exactly, and I think that was missing. So they're trending to the right direction, I
Okay.
think. But it's like, what direction are they trying to go? That's kind of like my biggest thing. It's like you have all of these players, young guys, but do they mold together? That's my biggest thing for me, right? So it's like you need a proper big on this team. I think you need a proper guard on this team. Like I said,
Would you bring back Gary next year?
No, there's no way. There's no way.
Okay, so you're gonna put what, Ochai in that spot?
No,
Brady.
I think Ochai.
What do you think about him?
I don't think he's that good.
Okay.
He's a 3-and-D that can't shoot. Like you need
But
someone to space the floor. He's a dog defensively, amazing, athletic guy, very good defense.
Yeah.
You know, he's gonna get you 1 or 2 steals a night. You know, but you're not gonna be useful in the NBA if you can't score and you can't get a bucket. You know,
he's still 23, so this is like, that's a guy that I would at least want to see, because I think that there's some potential there to be. And like I said, when they got him, he reminded me a lot so at his age now, reminded me of DeMar when DeMar came to the league. Just a sense for like athletic freak. DeMar couldn't shoot to save his life when he came to the league, and he was just a really athletic guy. I think that I see a lot of that in him. Does he have that potential? Probably not. But I mean, can he be a guy that can get some points for you? I mean, I think so. And I would like to see it.
Yeah.
With Grady, I don't know. Like with Grady, I don't know if he has. He seems out of place athletically in the NBA. Not to say there's been less athletic guys, like let's say guys like JJ Redick that have done that thing.
Yeah.
I just don't know what his real ceiling is.
And I think that's what everybody's kind of question mark is that where is Grady Dick gonna be in 5 years? Is he even gonna be in the NBA?
Probably just because he can shoot. I mean, like
But
Kyle Korver didn't do
though?
much
But
either.
that's
Right?
my thing.
Grady, you don't think he can?
I mean, bro, he's been open. He's had spot up shots, and you see him wank it. You know.
I think I just checked. He's shooting 36% of the season from 3, which is fine. I think confidence is a big thing too. What you said, they're giving him freedom now. I think before he was kind of like this.
We just have to see what kind of a mold of a guy you have him for 3 years. You know, you're on his rookie deal. You just try to see what you're gonna get from him every year. He's got to progress better. But the problem is that if your offense is not elite, but then you're a defensive liability, that's a big issue, right? Yeah. Guys like Kyle Korver, JJ Redick, yes, they weren't the best defensive guys, but they didn't miss open shots, so that's what's useful, right? You got guys like Bojan Bogdanovic, guys are offensively such a good player. Defensively, you don't mind what these guys do because offense they're such good players, right? Yeah. And I think that's the biggest knock on Grady Dick is his defense gonna improve that he's not a liability because his offense is so shaky.
Yeah, and that's why like when they drafted him, I was so shocked because I was like, what does this guy do well? And there's some big predictions, but I mean, there's a reason. He started off the pre-draft mocks around 5'6". He dropped to where the Raptors getting at 10, 11, something like that, 9, whatever it was. I didn't love it, but I mean, any last thoughts on maybe anything you want to talk about before we take off?
I mean, it's hard to be a Raptors fan right now, guys. It's hard, but you know, the silver lining is gonna hopefully be coming, and God willing, it's gonna get better for us Raptor fans.
Doesn't sound good, man.
No,
doesn't sound good. I mean, especially they come back with the same team without a draft pick last year.
I'm big on Quickly, I'm big on Barrett, I'm big on Barnes, and with that nucleus in itself, with 3 players in your starting lineup that are very good players, that are decent players, that you know have a lot of potential, have a high ceiling. You know, Scotty Barnes, he was an all-star.
He's an all-star. I just wonder if, I mean, with these guys that they have now, if they run it back, so out of the next years, they're going to have one of their draft picks, right? So let's say they get one top 10 pick and ends up being an 8 or a 9. You can't miss like you did with Grady if you're drafting 8 or 9. Because you look at it, if you take a guy...
But you need to go for a big in this aspect. Because you need to have a big...
Either a power forward or a center. You need one of them.
But like, look how big of a bust Koloko became and was.
But he was a second round pick.
Yeah, but like still with that lankiness, that tallness, like I mean, you would expect him to be a double-double or something.
But even like you look at a guy like Wendell Carter, you know what I mean, who went like 8, 9, 10 in the draft. If they had a guy like that, you know what I mean? Like that's a guy that you can use.
But for me, it's like you need someone that you can build around and is in the same
talent level.
Talent level. gonna be in that nucleus of guys that you're gonna build around for the next
An OKC kind of model.
and that's what it is, right? So now you guys, Shea Gilgeous, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Giddey, Isaiah Joe, Wiggins, all same age group, same everything.
Entering their prime
Wiggins
together.
is, I think, in thing now. Charlotte, they traded him.
I liked him a lot.
He was a good player.
And they also got rid of Trey Mann.
Yeah. Like I said, you need that nucleus of guys to be in your team and be in your lineup in that aspect, right? So I think that's what they need to build on. Gary Trent's got to leave. Chris Boucher's got to get out of there. I like you need your vets, but not vets like that are just going to be taking your shots. You know what I mean?
You need guys that can actually do something with the ball.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for the show today. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will chat with you later.
Thanks a lot, guys.
40.